Marvel's Avengers is out now on PS4 and Xbox One. If you get this game, you can actually upgrade for free when PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X come out, but I don't know why anybody would. I guess that gives away my position on the game. Marvel's Avengers was published and developed by Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics, the same creators of the recent Tomb Raider trilogy reboot, and this follows Kamala Khan, who 5 years after the events of a tragedy on A-Day, must get the Avengers back together to uncover a conspiracy involving something with Terrigen and the death of Captain America and other things. That's basically the story in a nutshell. So, what did I think of this game? Yeah, it's... waste of $60, I guess. You can say what you want from a business aspect for this game, and everything about that has been said, but I feel like when you're talking about a game like Avengers that is created by a studio who uses a certain business model, you have to talk about the business aspect of the game, because there are so many loot boxes and so many microtransactions in this game. This feels outdated. Honestly, this is one of the most outdated business models, and this is one of the business models that consumers hate, and Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics just don't get it. And it's very strange that they decided to go with this business model, considering that they're fresh off that, or at least Square Enix is, fresh off that Tomb Raider trilogy reboot, where there were no microtransactions at all. You got DLC, you had a season pass if you wanted that, but at least those games were complete at the time of release. You didn't have to worry about extra campaign material, extra outfits for Lara Croft. You had a good chunk of the bonus stuff upon release in those games. That is something Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix did perfectly with those games, other than create 3 great games. Even though I know a lot of people don't like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I still think it's a good game, definitely the weakest of the trilogy, and I think it's because Crystal Dynamics took a back seat in the development of that game, but I still think it's a good game. Honestly, adopting a business model like this for this game is quite a fucking embarrassment, to be honest with you. I don't know why, but for some reason, from like 2015, from the moment Star Wars Battlefront was remade and released, up until about like the middle of last year, for some reason, video game companies felt like consumers did not want to play campaigns in the games. So they created all of these multiplayer games that you paid a full $60 for, and also required season passes if you wanted all of the bonus material that wasn't included in the game at launch, which made no sense to me whatsoever, because you're paying $60 for a full game, and then a season pass is what, like another like $40, $50 sometimes, so you're essentially paying $110 for a game. For some reason, they felt as if consumers did not want campaign, when in reality, the whole time, everybody bitched and complained that there were no campaigns in these games. For instance, I've had every Call of Duty game since Call of Duty 2 except Black Ops 4. Because Black Ops 4 adopted a model where they tried to weave in a story in the multiplayer, but they omitted the campaign because they were like, nobody plays that. Let's just do multiplayer. When in reality, the one thing everybody wants from these games is campaign. In the case of Star Wars Battlefront in 2015, yes, it did have a campaign, but it only had a 45-minute campaign. It was filled with loot boxes and microtransactions, and a season pass that gave you all of the additional content that should have been there at launch. Luckily, Battlefront 2 fixed that and actually gave us a bit more of a campaign, but they still had all the microtransactions and loot boxes and multiplayer, and it didn't really make for a fun multiplayer experience. At some point last year, game studios finally realized that. They were like, that's not what the consumer wants. But apparently Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics just did not get the memo with this game.
Didn't you get the memo?
Because that is exactly what this game is littered with. Loot boxes, microtransactions, and honestly, this game just feels rushed. They released a beta at the beginning of August, and it seems like they just didn't take any of that negative feedback that they got from that beta into account and just released the game anyways, instead of delaying this game till like December or the early part of next year to fix those bugs and glitches and the problems that people had in that beta. And we're just like, here you go. This is kind of our thing now. Honestly, I was really excited for this game because I had seen a sneak preview when I went to San Diego Comic-Con last year in Hall H. They showcased the game demo, and I thought it looked pretty cool. Unfortunately, that part of the game that you play is the best part of the game. The story is also really good in the game as well. I like how it focuses more on Kamala Khan. I'll get into more of Kamala Khan. But I like how it focuses more on her and her search for the Avengers and her discovering more about her inhuman abilities from the tragedy of A-Day and her having to bring the Avengers together to stop this corrupt company. But everything else surrounding this game, especially that corrupt business model that game developers have developed, is just bad. Basically what I'm saying is that it took me 7 days to beat this game. This game came out on September 4th. It took me 7 days to beat this game. But those 7 days were spread throughout this entire month. What I'm saying is that this game gave me no incentive to keep playing. Something like Insomniac's Spider-Man actually gave me incentive to keep playing. An open world Spider-Man game, a fun Spider-Man game, an intriguing Spider-Man game, a Spider-Man game with a great story, with great mechanics, with great gameplay. Obviously, I'm going to go and play Spider-Man over this. And the reason I got this on PlayStation 4 was because they said that Spider-Man was going to be PlayStation exclusive. And I knew that even before they announced that. My issue is, do I really care all that much anymore? Like, if it's not the Insomniac version of Spider-Man, I really don't care, because how fluid are Spider-Man's controls going to be in this game? For instance, the camera sensitivity in this game is bizarre. You can turn this thing down to 0, and it is not coded to go down to 0. It is still as sensitive as fuck. You move the thumbstick around and it just swings the entire camera around like it's a frickin' wrecking ball. I was baffled by that choice. All the characters in this game too, when you push in on the left stick to sprint, these characters think they're the Flash. They run at so many speeds that they're not even supposed to run at. Like, a Black Widow is literally the Flash. That's honestly how I felt. I was like, well, she apparently has the superpower to frickin' sprint. I'm trying my best not to curse as much. That's why I'm saying frickin'. It was completely baffling as to how uneven the gameplay was in that regard. There was a lot of frame rate drops in this as well. At times I felt like I was playing a PS2 game. The graphics weren't even that good in some cutscenes. And then in other cutscenes, it looked like it was a current gen or next gen game. It's so weird. It just took me by surprise. The structure for this game is also not that great at all. Look, I understand. You didn't do an open world game. I think for a game like this, you don't necessarily need an open world structure. I do think it is a missed opportunity, though, for a game like this. If you're not going to go down that open world structure, however, make it a linear structure, which is what this game tries to be. And then about a quarter of the way through, it turns into a mission selection thing. Apparently, it goes from linear to non-linear, back to linear, because you're on one set path again, and then back to non-linear. I have no idea. Why would you go from a linear gameplay, why would you go from linear storytelling to non-linear storytelling? If you commit to that linear storytelling, that puts you on one path, and maybe you can venture off onto other paths to collect some like side goodies, but this game clearly doesn't understand what that is. The Tomb Raider games understood what that was. The Tomb Raider games were one linear path you could literally follow. But then there were crevices and cracks in the environment that you could explore. Obviously, because it's a Tomb Raider game, that would be off the beaten path, but you would actually get some really good bonus content there. And then go back on your journey, and it will lead you onto the linear path of the story. Fine, it worked so well in Tomb Raider. It doesn't work so well in here, because when they do give you some stuff to go and explore on the side, it's just little, like, dense, I guess, little small caves that like go like an inch back, and then you just hit some stuff and you don't even know what you're getting. as bonus content. I have no idea, like, how do you get health in this game? I have no idea. Is it those white box things you destroy? I have no idea. I just wish they gave you a couple of different paths that you could go. Kind of like in Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us 2, where it wasn't linear gameplay, but there were a couple different paths that took you to the same exact location, but you could take a few different paths to get to that location. That's what I wish they had done with this game. But unfortunately, they didn't do it. It was a huge missed opportunity. Kamala Khan, I like the idea that the story revolves around her. I like that she has to find all the Avengers, bring them back, and take down this conspiracy. My problem with Kamala Khan in this is that she is borderline annoying. The entire campaign, she is just fangirling out over the Avengers. There is no progression in her character. I feel like she's in the same place at the beginning of the game as she is at the end of the game, minus a couple of things, especially her inhuman abilities that make her Miss Marvel. She never seems focused on the situation. She just is more in awe about Captain America or Thor or Iron Man or Bruce Banner showing up or Black Widow than she is at the task at hand. To me, this would definitely be a major setback if she was on my team. I would definitely be like, girl, stop fangirling. Because that's her entire character in this game. She just fangirls to the point of annoyance. I like that the story focuses on her. I like that it focuses on her bringing the Avengers together. It's just her dialogue is one of the most annoying aspects of this game. This game also doesn't have a sense of direction. It tells you to do it tells you what a lot of these things are, like gear upgrades, your special abilities, but it does it in the most convoluted way that you can't figure out how to do them after a while. You learn about them at first, and you're pressing a bunch of different buttons to make sure you're getting it right, and when you finally do, you're just like, how did I do that again? This game's directions are completely senseless, and because of that, this game does require you to upgrade your gear. Whether or not that's through loot boxes or microtransactions is a completely other thing. But when it's actually in the campaign and they're telling you it's best to upgrade this stuff, I have no idea how to do it. It is the most senseless, listless, confusing process in a video game I have ever experienced. Not to mention that these controls are so finicky and so sensitive that they make you hold down buttons to use stuff. Usually you can just press like circle and a door will open. It'll be hold down square to open this chest or to open this door. In the pause menu, when you hit the options button and you pause the game. If you hit the options button again, you would think that would bring you back to the gameplay. Instead, it brings you into the settings menu. To get back to the gameplay, you not only have to hit circle, you have to hold down circle. It makes no sense, guys. I have no idea why that's even a thing. I know it's the biggest nitpicky thing, but I have no idea why they chose to do it that way. Let me hit start or options and get back into the game, or let me hit circle or B, whatever console you're playing on. Get back into the game. Don't make me hold down buttons. Jesus, and when I'm over objects and it says hold the button down, you go up to these objects. When you stop right in front of them, the character moves so slightly to the left that you can't even hold down the button until the icon comes on. The icon disappears because the movements of the characters are just so finicky. It became a chore after a while. This is why it took me so long to play this game, because I was just like, I don't want to deal with all of this frustration. It is one of the most frustrating games. Try flying around as Iron Man in this game. My God, I do not know how they let that go with those controls. Honestly, if you look at the Tomb Raider trilogy that these two companies just developed over the course of the last 5 years, and then you look at this game that is developed directly after it, that had its first showcase at San Diego Comic-Con last year. This is honestly an embarrassment. It feels like there was no time or effort put into this game, and they just embraced a bad business model that they think everybody is still okay with, and that people have criticized them for, yet they've remained silent on the entire matter, when in reality, we've started to move away from that business model, but Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics just didn't get the memo. They seem to be stuck in the past. There's definitely a good story within this game. Everything else surrounding that just feels rushed. This was, like I said, this was showcased at Hall H last year in San Diego Comic-Con. I got to see it firsthand. honestly thinking about it now, to have a game about Avengers with this quick of a turnaround, they should have had more time for development. Look at Insomniac with Spider-Man. They announced that in 2014, 2015? If it was 2014, it took them another 4 years to get that game ready for release, and it was released in 2018. That's what should have happened with this game. I don't know what Marvel was thinking. They should have had Insomniac Games handle it, or Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics should have done something completely different in regards to an Avengers video game. But this just wasn't it. I'm not going to say that this is horrible, but it's definitely not worth the full price of $60. I'm going to give Avengers a 5 out of 10. There's just no incentive to play this game because of how bad this business model is and just how little effort it seems like they put into making an actual good game. And I fell for the hype for this game that this was actually going to be good. Play like Super Mario 3D All-Stars or Tony Hawk Remastered instead. I mean, this game is just, I mean, not having the MCU actors is the least of my worries for this game. So, what did you guys think of Marvel's Avengers, the video game? Drop me some feedback in the comments section below. I will leave my link to my website in the description below as well. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.